Welcome to Bible Time at Faith. This is a daily podcast where we're going to be talking about the Bible, asking some questions, and just having a little bit of fun. Hopefully, it is beneficial to your family, to you. And let's get started with the first episode.
Well, welcome. We are here for Bible Time at Faith. This is our very first episode. And so let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. During this series, we'll be going through the book of 2 Timothy. And 2 Timothy is the last letter that Paul ever writes. This is at the end of his life. But before we look at the end of Paul's life and ministry, we need to look at the beginning. We need to look at Acts chapter 9. And when we get Acts chapter 9, then that's when we understand what motivates Paul. Why does Paul do what he does? Well, Acts 9 will tell us that. And so let's get into it. In Acts chapter 9, Paul is traveling, and he is on the road to Damascus. And we're going to give Paul angry eyebrows because Paul is a bad guy. And Paul is journeying in order to imprison and murder Christians. So we don't like Paul, all right? And during this journey, he sees a vision. He sees a vision. And in this vision, he sees what is a brilliant and glorious light. And what you learn is that this vision is not a what. This vision is a who. That this vision is Jesus Christ enthroned in glory in the end times. And when we think about visions, we have to go back to the Old Testament. And there were three main guys who saw visions. The first guy is Isaiah, and we'll just abbreviate it. And this is in Isaiah chapter 6. And in Isaiah 6 verse 3, Tommy will put it on, I don't know, or we'll put it right here. It's going to be perfectly right here. It says, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is filled with his glory." And to be sure, this one is holy. But Isaiah says, and the angels were saying that the whole earth, what you learn is that it's not just this one, but it's the world. It's that everything becomes holy. And in Isaiah's day, it was as if the whole world was falling apart. And Isaiah says, I saw the moment in the future. I saw a future moment where everything and everyone was transformed. And all of it, that entire moment hinged on this one person. Later in Isaiah will reveal more details about the one who is the resolution. And Isaiah says that this one is the Messiah. That this one is the suffering servant, and that this one is God himself, okay? And so that is Isaiah's vision. The second guy that we need to look at is Ezekiel. And this is in Ezekiel chapter 1. Ezekiel also sees a vision, and he says that I saw the same moment, but I saw the one on the throne, and he had the appearance like a man. And that in this vision, that there is these flames around the throne, and there's this lightning, and it's this weighty, this glorious, this almost overwhelming amount of God's glory that Ezekiel falls on his face like a dead man. Ezekiel says, that moment was so much, I thought I was going to die. That's Ezekiel 1. And the very last vision that we need to look at is Daniel. And this is in Daniel chapter 7. Daniel says that I didn't just see a moment, I saw the moment. I saw that this moment was the center, that this moment was the climax of human history. He says, I saw the moment where this one seated on the throne was coronated, where he was recognized as, and this is key, as king. And that to this king seated on the throne, that he receives all dominion, that he receives all glory, and that he inherits the kingdom forever. And what is so big ticket, you have to get this. Daniel in Daniel chapter 7 says, in this moment, I didn't just see the Jews, but I also saw peoples. I also saw nations. And I saw peoples and nations from all kinds of languages, having all kinds of languages. Daniel says this wasn't just a moment where the Jews were worshiping the one on the throne. He says this is also a moment where the Gentiles were worshiping the one who was on the throne. And so this moment becomes so big ticket for Paul, because in Paul's vision, when he sees the Messiah, when he sees the suffering servant, when he sees the God-man, when he sees the one who is worshipped as king in the end, Paul says, and Paul realizes and recognizes that this one is none other than Jesus Christ. And now Paul learns that he wasn't just at war with the plan and purposes of the king, but he was at war with the king himself, Jesus Christ. And so this moment becomes defining in Paul's life, because now this is the moment where Paul moves from a murderer to a missionary. And if the question was, what motivates Paul? Why does Paul do what he does? Well, now you know why. Now you know, and now we've learned that Paul's going to be motivated by one thing and one thing only: the future glory of Jesus Christ. And so in Paul's motivation, now his plan becomes pretty simple. He goes, I saw a moment where it wasn't just the Jews worshiping, but it was also the Gentiles. And now Paul's mission is this: prepare the Gentiles. Go out into all nations and prepare all kinds of people, all nations, from all languages, all walks of life. Prepare them for this moment. Prepare them for the moment that Isaiah saw. Prepare them for the moment that Ezekiel and Daniel saw. Prepare them for the moment that I saw in Acts chapter 9. And so throughout our series, we will see Paul do just that. We will see his missionary journeys to the Gentiles. And so that concludes episode 1. Stay tuned tomorrow for episode 2.
That was episode 1. Now it's time for Question Time with Tommy, where I ask questions and you talk about them as a family. Question 1. Does the future glory of Christ matter? It mattered to Paul. Does it matter to you? Should it? Why does it? Question 2. This one's for our little guys, so hopefully you were listening. What road was Paul walking on when he saw the vision? All right, those are the 2 questions. We'll see you guys tomorrow.